We have a criminal justice program. One of our strongest ones is culinary arts. Many of you looking at the invite list have seen our culinary arts program in action, whether they have been catering an event or they brought our new mobile food kitchen to your event. We have a hospitality program, and then JROTC. So within those, Perkins 5, which is the legislation that kind of controls the world of career and technical ed, Perkins 5 has an accountability piece for work-based learning. And work-based learning can look one of two ways. We can try to mimic it in-house, which with our culinary program and to some extent our welding program, we are able to kind of simulate work-based learning environments. But some of our other programs, we really struggle to mimic or simulate that environment just by the pure nature of the program. So we're constantly, looking for community and business partners to help our kids get out of the building and actually experience some of the trades and careers associated with them. So that's what we look for in the work-based learning / internship. We also, have some project-based learning within our building. As I mentioned, culinary is pretty much an enterprise in itself. The kids learn everything from planning events to ordering the proper food for the menu, cost analysis, and then taking it to the final presentation. But it's few and far between with our programs in-house. Mentorships, we're always looking for any type of mentors out there that are willing to take our students. I think Nicole might speak a little bit later about some business tax credits associated with taking some of the kids, specifically aligned with CTE programs, and then also with the apprenticeship program. Another kind of ask, from this group is to consider serving on what we call program advisory committees. So these are required by Perkins legislation. They meet on average 2 times a year. And what it is, the instructor in the program brings in a student or two, some past graduates, post-secondary, and most importantly, industry representatives to ensure that the programming that we have in place is properly aligned to what industry might need immediately, or, what industry might forecast, 5-10 years down the road, so that we are graduating kids with the skills necessary, to fill jobs within Coos County, within the state, within the, the region. And again, providing us some curriculum direction. All right, I did talk about some of the courses. Also, we are a sister center to Littleton, even though they are in Grafton County. There are some important programs there. Looking at the list of people that are on this workshop, they have automotive programming, they have building trades, business, they have health science, and just looking through, they have a manufacturing program too. So a lot of opportunities to either partner with White Mountains Regional or the Hugh Gallen Center at Littleton High School. We are very, very, very flexible in how we approach student scheduling. A previous principal used to say, it's not that we don't like our seniors, but we really don't want them in the building as much as they should be. We want them out experiencing careers, getting to know what's available to them and getting hands-on experiences. So we are very flexible in our scheduling. We can almost handle any type of, business need if you're willing to take on kids. Michelle kind of talked about this briefly, but we provide a lot of industry recognized credentialing. So any kid coming out of our welding program or out of our environmental science program will have an OSHA 10 safety certification. Any kid coming out of culinary or hospitality will have the Serve Safe food handler certification. We also offer ICS 100 to any of our students, and that's an incident command, intro to incident command certification for any of our kids in criminal justice or JROTC. Many of our kids earn solo wilderness first aid, leave no trace behind. Hunter safety is actually a new one that's been recognized. especially in the world of criminal justice, if kids are interested in going in that pathway. So a lot of opportunities for them to earn these IRCs is what we call them. And as business leaders, if there are some credentials that you would like to see kids graduating with, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we'll see it, what we can do to provide some of those trainings within our building. Our program, we tell ourselves we are 100% hands-on in the world of CTE. When it comes to welding, when it comes to culinary, criminal justice, you cannot learn from just reading a textbook. You've got to put your hands on it. You've got to make mistakes, and you've got to learn from the mistakes and move on. So we are a hands-on approach. Looking at the Department of Labor, and I think maybe Nicole will speak to this, but there are opportunities for folks to partner with us and have students work either in a co-op or an apprenticeship. And basically, by going through the school system has special insurance waivers that we would pick up the liability. So we work between the three organizations, school, the Department of Labor, and the business. And in most cases, we are able to waive some of the age requirements. So if you own an auto shop, but you're worried about a kid that's 16 or 17, in a lot of cases, we can get that requirement waived by the Department of Labor, get it approved through our work-based learning insurance rider, and setting up a proper co-op. And then finally, the employability skills. We're always reaching out to businesses to find out what skills our kids need to use and have, and try to align them to what we call image of a graduate. It's a school district initiative started about 8 years ago, and just making sure our kids have the skills that they need, whether they go into a career, into post-secondary, or into the military.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
All right, Nicole.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Levake. I work with the New Hampshire Department of Education Bureau of Career Development. And I'm going to go over just a few state level initiatives to incent employers to offer work-based learning to students that are either in ELO programs or in career and technical education programs. So work-based learning, we have recently come up with a statewide definition for that. We're really looking at students participating in sustained applied educational experiences that prepare them for the workplace by applying core competencies, enhancing employability skills through real-world application, expanding their knowledge and exposure to career pathways. They should be designed around authentic real-world environments. So kind of playing on what Rob and Michelle said, it could be something that a student does in the community within a business, or they could experience work-based learning in their career and technical education center by having an employer come in and do some project-based learning with them. And also work-based learning opportunities can be credit-bearing. So some activities that are included in the umbrella of work-based learning includes apprenticeships, internships, work placement, jobs, extended learning opportunities, and Learn Everywhere. So another thing that we always look for, not only are those work-based learning activities, but also career exploration activities. So those are more of your a student maybe isn't ready for an internship, they're doing some more exploration, they're looking to work with a business to do a job shadow or a job tour. So you'll see stuff like that mentioned in this list. So, if you're ever interested in doing that, we're always looking for employers that can talk about, their jobs within their workplace, and even have a student come in and do some observations that eventually will lead into that internship, apprenticeship, co-op opportunity. And I do have on the bottom of this list, and I do want to add this, that the CTE centers are always looking for equipment donations that would be a really great contribution to their program to help them stay in line with industry. So the benefits of becoming an industry partner and hosting a work-based learning opportunity include flexible and cost-effective training opportunities that are aligned to business needs and labor market demands. So by working with students and offering these internships, you have to think about it as a return on investment. You're working with students that they're exploring different fields and they might want to try out these jobs and could eventually come back and be in your workforce pipeline. So I always say it's a great way to maybe get students thinking about your line of work and to provide them that mentorship and really have them think about, you know, your line of work as a great option for them. You'll have streamlined access to a pool of new and highly skilled potential employees, kind of that return on investment I just touched on. And the other thing too is that students are going to be immersed in authentic and simulated work environments that will help them obtain skills and build on the skills they already have to really deeply understand the aspects of an industry through collaborating with you, the employers. Couple of incentives I wanted to talk about today. We do have a CTE tax credit for industry partners donating property, money, and time to CTE centers. So donations are up to 100% of the value. So if you're donating equipment to a CTE center, kind of like what I just talked about, you could get 100% tax credit for that, and also 50% for salary deductions. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about our new Work as Learning wage match program for paid internships, which I will get into, I believe, in one of the next slides. So Work as Learning is a newer program that we established right around the new year, so about January 2022. It's a wage match program designed for high school students to earn credit through paid internships. So employers will receive 50% wage match for wages paid to students up to $15 an hour with a maximum reimbursement of $3,600. And just, I always feel I have to clarify this. When we say a wage match up to $15 an hour, that means if you're paying the student $15 an hour, we would be reimbursing $7.50 an hour. So that ends up being roughly about 480 hours of interning. And I know that Erica wanted me to touch on this a little bit. So right now, the definition of employer for this program is any employer that's registered with the state of New Hampshire, the Secretary of New Hampshire Secretary of State. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I don't know why that was so hard to say. So right now, that does not include government entities and municipalities, but we are working on doing an amendment to this program so that we can include government entities and municipalities. So please be on the lookout for that. We're really right now looking at getting that through governor and council, probably sometime in end of September, beginning of October, and then we can start working with all those businesses as well. So Work as Learning is designed to serve yes, it does include nonprofits right now. Sorry, just saw that question. So Work as Learning is designed to serve 1,000 students over a 2.5-year period with an end date of September 30th, 2024. So this program is using pandemic relief funds or COVID relief funds. And we do really want to target about 1,000 students to be in this program. Currently, we've had about 25 students. So we do have a lot of room to take on more students and have them work with industry. And if you're interested in connecting to this program, we are working with a way to administer and market this program. So basically, we've contracted with them as a vendor to make sure that any business that wants to use this reimbursement program would sign up with them, send in the pay stub of the student that's working with them, and then they would receive a check from a way to for that wage match.
All right, next we have Liz.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, and Erica and team, thanks for pulling this all together. So I am the high school apprentice and business outreach specialist for Apprenticeship New Hampshire, and we are a workforce-based development program that sits in the community college system of New Hampshire. So we work with registered apprenticeship, and this particular slide is a very bird's eye view of what registered apprenticeship is. And I think just for general purposes, I'll just go through a couple of the components of it. Registered apprenticeship is always employer driven. So it's always an employer who's raising their hand saying, yes, I want to sponsor an apprenticeship program. From there, we begin to work with the employer to develop the on-the-job learning that would occur at the employer's site with the occupation that the employer has decided they're in most need of. And that could be a LNA in healthcare. It could be a CNC machinist. There's thousands of occupations that we can help employers develop through apprenticeship. Along with the structured on-the-job learning, there's also a classroom instruction component. And most of the classroom instruction does take place at one of our community college systems. So certainly up in your area, it would be White Mountains Community College. We'd be working with them and you to develop the classroom instruction that would best align with the occupation you're looking for. A registered apprenticeship always has a progressive wage, and that's basically meaning that an apprentice would come in at probably a little bit lower than a person with all of the skills needed for the occupation. And then they would end as a fully skilled person in that occupation. In between the entry and the exit wages, there are 2 increases to keep the apprentice motivated and to reward them for the skills gained on the job and also in the classroom. And then the 5th component of the apprenticeship is it always completes, when an apprentice completes, they do have a nationally recognized credential. So I've heard a couple of credentials that are reached at the CTE level, which is like OSHA 10 and some of the LNA programs. And then the Department of Labor would also be issuing credentials for the apprentice. So that's a nice resume builder. I think we could go, there we go. And so with apprenticeship programs, we also build pre-apprenticeship programs. And this is where our youth in the high schools can start to get involved in career pathways. So a pre-apprenticeship doesn't have the 5 components of a registered apprenticeship, but there are some frameworks that we like to follow to make sure that these experiences are high quality for both the student and the employer. So we look to an approved curriculum, so training that's based on an industry standard. So for instance, if we are working with an employer who has a welding and fabrication occupation, we would align the training at the school to enhance that on the job training. So perhaps the students taking blueprint reading for welders. So we're making sure that those 2 things are aligned. We're making sure that the hands-on training or the volunteer opportunity doesn't displace a paid employee. So we certainly want to help the employer and also help the student, but not at the expense of a paid employee. We ask that there be a facilitated entry into a registered apprenticeship. So if you have students who are participating in a pre-apprenticeship program, we ask that they at least get an opportunity to apply for that registered apprenticeship program. We really try to recruit and prepare underrepresented populations to be successful in registered apprenticeship programs. And that could be as simple as making sure that young women in CTE auto programs are connected with an employer with a registered apprenticeship so they can continue a career in a field that they have shown interest in. We have supportive services that help participants complete their program. And I have to say in the last 6 months, those supportive services have mostly been aligned with transportation costs and mileage reimbursement. So students are leaving school, they're going to their employer to do their apprenticeship program or their pre-apprenticeship program, and it could become very costly for them. So we are able to pay for travel reimbursement to make sure that that student is successful in completing their pre-apprenticeship. And then we just really are looking to sustain partnerships with these pre-apprenticeship programs, and be promoting registered apprenticeship to other employers in the community, so that we can all benefit from a more skilled, trained, and excited workforce. I think we can jump to the next slide. So what does pre-apprenticeship look like in action? So you have an employer who has a registered apprenticeship program. That's the first step. And then we work with setting up the education piece. And maybe that is just looking at a CTE culinary arts curriculum and aligning that with a restaurant in town, what they may need their employers to know. We make that connection for the employer and for the student. Many times running START courses that are offered at the high school can also be used for college credit. So we're really looking at the educational experience to see how the student can get the most out of the courses that they're enrolled in, and how the employer can also benefit from the education the student is receiving. And then sometimes it could be just a paid internship. Perhaps we talk about those seniors that we don't want to see in school anymore. Sometimes their second part of their year, they have opportunities to be out of school by 12. Perhaps they can be working, 12:30 to 5:30 with an employer through a paid internship. So that's an example of a pre-apprenticeship. The gold standard is to have both a paid internship and some education component. But again, it can be flexible as long as it's meeting the needs of the student and the employer. I think we can move.
There. And don't forget to tell everybody about the good news today.
Yes, so this is where that will show up in the apprenticeship support. So as people may have heard, Apprenticeship New Hampshire and the Community College System of New Hampshire just received a $5.8 million Apprenticeship Building America grant. So that is so exciting on so many levels, I can't even tell you, but we don't have time to go through them all, but I'm going to go through some of them. So in addition to scholarship funds that we are able to give to the apprentice, up to $2,000, that's going to increase now that we have this grant. Support services to support the apprentices, as I stated, in maybe transportation costs, or many times if they're going into the trades, they need tools. We could purchase tools for them. The barriers that may exist, we're trying to wipe those out so that students can be successful. So we're able to do that now with some money that we have, and we'll be able to do it to a greater degree with the new grant coming in. We currently have a 50% reimbursement for on-the-job training costs for employers, and that taps out at $2,000 per apprentice. I can share that with the new grant, based on industry feedback, we will be paying a portion of the mentor salary. So in apprenticeship, when you're doing the on-the-job training, you have a mentor at the company that works very closely with the apprentice. And this sometimes takes that person away from their job, or maybe slows them down with their job. We're recognizing that, and through the new grant, there's going to be incentive funding for mentors training, and also for employers in general to give apprenticeship a try and see how it can be a tool in your workforce development toolkit. So exciting things on the horizon. Certainly, if anybody has any questions, I think that Erica will be sharing our contact information. And again, thank you for your time today.
All right, before we get to some of the questions that are popping up in the chat, I felt it was really important, sort of the crux here, to highlight what this reimbursement scenario might actually look like when you put all our pieces together. And that's obviously not including the new news from Liz about their additional contribution. But the bottom line with the savings, just to me, speaks to the value of what our collaboration can give to you as businesses. And we really encourage you all to take advantage of what the school and the state and the college program has to offer, as well as us. And so we all would look very much forward to working with any and all of you in developing this. We want to see this to be a success, and happy to do so. This is our contact information. So feel free to take that information down or reach out to me directly, and I can definitely get you in contact with the right person. And I'm happy to go to some of the questions that we're receiving now. So the first one is from Courtney. Are these apprenticeship programs to graduates or only high school students? So Liz.
Yes, well, I'm going to close the chat so I don't get confused. Yeah, I just put that in the chat. Apprenticeship opportunities are for high school youth and adults. I kind of zeroed in on the high school youth given the webinar, and I work mainly with high school youth, but we have another team that works solely with the adult population and job seekers all over the state.
All right, and the next one, Liz, is, are governments eligible for apprenticeship New Hampshire?
So governments are eligible for apprenticeship. At this time, instead of the development going through the Apprenticeship New Hampshire programming, it goes through the Office of Apprenticeship at the New Hampshire state level. So any government, for instance, the Department of Transportation, if apprenticeships were being built for the Department of Transportation, it would go through the Office of Apprenticeship at the state level. The process is the same. The 5 components, that's all the same, but it's done at the state level and not through Apprenticeship New Hampshire.
And the other question was, will you be sending out this recording of the Zoom? It's going to be on our website, and we'll also be sending it out through our newsletter in September. So there will be ample opportunities to get a copy of it. Michelle, Michelle from POAS, what kind of tax credit is CTE tax credit? Is it a credit against New Hampshire business taxes? How do you find out more about it?
Yeah, it is a state tax credit, and it is against business profit taxes. I do have a 1-pager that I can send to Erica at the end of this webinar that she can share with you all, if that would be helpful. That explains a little bit more in detail how it works and has the RSA on there as well.
Great, thanks, Nicole. Courtney has asked, is there a cheat sheet for what funding and resources are available to whom and for which types of businesses, for-profit, nonprofit, municipal? I don't believe there is a cheat sheet just yet. I think our webinar really is kind of the first time any of us have kind of put this together as an effort. And I think based on Rob and Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, it's really open to any businesses, with, whether ELO, because under ELO it's non-limiting, and CTE is, within those programs.
Yeah. And I think it's important. I listed off the 6 main programs at our CTE center, but there's always ways, through human resource skill development or, financial skill development, we can tie them to CTE programs. And it doesn't just, when we say welding, it's not, if you don't have a welder in your facility, we can't help you or we can't work with you. So tons of different opportunities to get creative in getting kids into these types of programs.
And Courtney, I'll follow up. If you want to reach out to me directly, we can help with I can help you with your business as far as planning out what might be specific to you. Chris, I see you have your hand up if you want to go ahead and speak.
Sure. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, I am the CTE director in Canaan, which serves Colebrook and Pittsburgh, and we have a number of students in work-based learning and ELO situations. I'm out of state, even though we have both Vermont and New Hampshire students in that work-based learning. Would those businesses who participate be eligible for these tax credits, or is it just students from New Hampshire that we serve and place?
So for the ones that I have, Chris, I know that the Work as Learning program is specific to New Hampshire businesses. The CTE tax credit is if a business in New Hampshire is working with the CTE center, they would be eligible for the tax credit. Your center is located in New Hampshire or Vermont?
In Vermont.
I'm gonna get back to you on that one. I'm gonna
Okay.
ask about it.
That's fine.
Thank you.
And the other part of that question is it just New Hampshire students or is it Vermont students in New Hampshire too? Because we're in Canaan, there's not too many businesses, but Colebrook and Pittsburgh, we have a number of.
I think I'm
opportunities.
overcomplicating this tax credit. I think as long as the business is in New Hampshire, they would be eligible for the tax credit.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's the same with you, Liz, right, with the apprenticeship?
Yes, the business has to be registered in New Hampshire.
Great question, Chris. Thank you. And I can connect you with Nicole if for some reason you're unable to get with her. Does anybody else that's on here on the workshop have any other questions, comments? None? Well, that being said, we want to thank everybody for joining us. I believe we had 15 minutes. Oh, we got one more. Hold on. Well, we get the presentation by email. We're going to put it on our website. Same with the recording. So just check back on cosedc.org, and we'll have it on there. And the school and Rob and anybody else can post it on their site as well. Chris, did you have another question? Your hand was still raised. Maybe not.
I did not have a question. Thanks.
Okay. And I put the emails back up here just in case. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time today. We greatly appreciate it. At the end of this Zoom meeting, there will be a survey. We do ask if you can fill it out. We would greatly appreciate the feedback. So we can make sure that we continue crafting workshops that meet your needs and serve you all. So thank you everyone and have a great rest of your afternoon and last days of August. Thank you.
Thanks, Erica.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
12:41.